Hey guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books. Do you guys like that long pause? Oh my god, oh my god. Happy Diverseathon Day 3, you guys. This is so much fun. I am having so much fun with Diverseathon, but I think I'm having more fun talking to people about it and in the real world talking about it than I am actually sitting down and reading, because I have had such a hard time this week, you guys, like committing myself to actually sitting down and reading the books. I changed my hat up. Do you guys like it? I usually wear that pink ultra hat, but this time I wore an orange one to match the pumpkin. Hey, Jack. So anyway, also, I'm going to be taking my Jake Funko Pop that somebody sent me. Thank you, I can't remember who sent it to me, to my office, because I have another Funko Pop there, the Michael Myers one from Halloween. Feel free to send me Funko Pops, you guys. I love them so much. And the problem is, when I go to buy them, I'm like, they're not super expensive, but I'm like, I never know which one I want to commit to. I really want all of the horror movie ones is what I really want. But anyway, and now I want the entire cast of 16 Candles. So Jake is going to my office as of today. But anyway, let's talk about where I'm at with Diverseathon. I committed last night to sitting down and reading. And if you guys don't know, I started another channel. I mean, I've had the channel up forever, but I've really committed to doing videos every day, and it's kind of turned into a gossip channel. And interestingly enough, it's kind of taking off faster than this channel has done, but I think it's totally in a different way. So anyway, I've really had fun with that channel. I've talked about enough about it on here. Go check it out, it's linked below. But like, keeping up with both of those channels is like, you guys, I am so passionate about making videos, talking about books, talking about all this kind of stuff. It's just so fun for me. Like, I don't have tons of friends in my real life, so to be able to interact with you on Twitter and through videos and comments and stuff like that is so much fun. To now have two channels to do that on, you guys, it's like my life. I'm so happy every day. I like wake up and I'm like, oh my god, what to make a video about today? So last night, I was like, Peter, it is Tuesday. You haven't read a whole lot of Diverseathon. You cannot like go through this week and not have anything completed. So yesterday, late morning, early afternoon, I started, hold on, I need a sip of, look at these cups I got at Walmart, you guys, like 5 years ago. I love them so much. But anyway, I love big like tumblers for water. And I'm a big Crystal Light fan too. So anyway, I was just like in my head thinking like that would be a cute name for a drag queen, and I'm like, I am sure there is a drag queen out there somewhere named Crystal Light. But anyway, so I sat down. Okay, so yesterday early afternoon I started Underground Railroad by Colton Whitehead. You guys, okay, this book is totally worth all of the hype that it is getting. I'm having like a side thought, so I just need to say this. And you guys, this is really hard because like one of the things that Diverseathon has taught me in the 3 days that I've been doing it and in the week preparing for it is that as a white male in the United States or anywhere in the world, it's really hard to have conversations about diversity, race, things like that, because I'm very, very much afraid now of saying the wrong thing or saying something that's going to be offensive to somebody. And I'm very careful of that now. So I'm trying to pick my words carefully, but it's interesting because, I would say about 8 months ago, I know this friend of mine is not watching my videos, so she can't throw it in my face. But anyway, she and I got in a very, very heated argument where she said I was white privileged, and I was very offended by that comment. I was like, no, I'm not. You know, like, you know me, you know my life, blah, 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 whatever. And she was like, okay, fine, I understand all that stuff, but you are white privileged, and until you admit that, you don't see the world from a different point of view. In the last 2 weeks, I totally see how I am white privileged in this world. I get it, I understand it now. I knew it, I think, always deep in my heart, but like, I didn't want to believe it. I think I didn't want to believe it is really what the truth was. Because if I believed it, then I think that I had to accurately see how the rest of the world worked, almost unfairly, if that makes sense. And it's interesting because I can remember when my husband finished college and he started filling out resumes, and he goes by Alex, but his name is Alejandro, and he was very like indecisive about to put Alex on his resume or Alejandro on his resume, and I said, I don't really understand why that makes a difference, and he was like, trust me, it makes a difference. Well, so last night I dove right into this book called Dear White People, A Guide to Interracial Harmony in Post-Racial America. This book is very tongue-in-cheek, and it's written by Justin Simeon, who wrote this movie called Dear White People, that apparently has gotten tons of acclaim. I haven't heard of it, but I'm gonna go watch it. And it's funny, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it's very educational at the same point, or at the same time. And, you know, he talks in there about things like, he talks in there about resumes, and he talks in there about, like, you know, using, you know, certain, like, that people won't get hired because of having certain ethnic names and things like that. And in fact, in one part in here, he's talking about a woman in the office, and he says, oh God, I wish I could find it. Shoot. Oh, he's talking about African-American hair. And he says in there something to the extent of, and while that's a fair question, using your fingers to find the answer will only ensure that Cheryl in accounting will stop inviting you to lunch. And then he goes on to talk about Cheryl in accounting. And then at the bottom of it, he says, if your first thought is, why didn't the author decide to name this hypothetical black woman Shaniqua or Aquanetta to make it clear it was this black coworker as opposed to using a footnote, you are a racist. Read this book 5 times and watch Spike Lee's Malcolm X immediately. And so it's just like, it's funny like that, but at the same time, as a white person reading this book, you realize you do things like that. And so, or I have done things like that. And so it really has educated me on looking at the world from a totally different perspective. And he is not shy to put things down in here. And he talks about racism from, you know, an African-American point of view, like how he talks about like double stereotypes. He also talks in there about how, like, the United States is very much marginalized into black and white, but that we don't look at marginalized, like, Asians and, like, Latinos and things like that. We don't look at marginalized races, and that if he was going to write this book accurately, he would have to include all of them, and he doesn't even do that. And so it's really interesting. And then what I found to be the whole, the most interesting part of this so far was that he goes in here and talks a lot about, like, blackface, and how, like, in the minstrels and the blackface, like, back in the day, like, how that was seen as funny, and those characters and the different characters that we would see, like, in television and movies. You guys, this is like a tongue-in-cheek book, but it's very, very intellectually educating as well. And he goes in here and talks about, like, Sambo and Mammy and Mandingo and all these people. And then next to him, what he does is he relates it to reality television today, and says that, like, Sambo of yesteryear is like the hood celebrity of today, and, like, the Mammy of yesteryear is very much like the Real Housewife of today. And he goes through in here and he, like, names them all and says, like, how reality television in the United States is really only giving one view of African American life, and that African Americans that are partaking in that reality kind of television are furthering the stereotype. And as white people, we're sitting back and laughing at that, and, like, we're saying that, like, oh, so I watch Real Housewives of Atlanta, which I'm a huge fan of, by the way. I love all the housewives. Let's just put that out there. But he was like, you know, and then all across America, what you see, you know, are these GIFs of Nene Leakes doing these things, and it's perpetuating stereotypes. So you guys, this book is so interesting to me. It's really, like, made me sit back and go, Peter, you need to really think about how you say things, how you do things, and whatever. And when somebody says something incorrectly, you need to correct them immediately and not partake in the furthering of those stereotypes. So actually, this book, which at first I thought was kind of a joke when I saw it at the library, has been highly educational. So yes, I recommend anybody, no matter what your ethnicity is, to go and get Dear White People. It's really great. And then the next book that I have read a little bit of is Shahana by Roseanne Hawk. And it's a book about a girl that lives on the conflict zone of Kashmir. And right at the beginning of the book, it's her at school. And right after leaving school, she's walking home with her brother, her little brother, her older brother, her mom. And because of gunfire and bombing, they're all killed except for she and her youngest brother, who now live in this village. You guys, this book, which I thought was going to be kind of corny because of the cover, is so intense. Like, I don't know, like, it's really, like, this week has made me, I'm trying to read differently, so instead of just reading it as a story, I'm really reading it as a perspective and thinking, like, I don't, like, I'm so grateful for the life that I have and never really saw it from this point of view. So this book is incredible. I have not started Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And it's funny because I actually have a friend of mine from Nigeria. And so I said the name to her and I said it very slowly. I was like, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She goes, no, that was really good. That was really good. You didn't. So anyway, but she said that basically she's a celebrity in Nigeria. So she was like, I mean, she's like she said something about like her being our proudest export or something, which I thought was interesting. But anyway, I'm super excited about reading this book. So yeah. And then Cinder, I read none of last night. And then Lies We Tell Ourselves, I'm trying to wait until I finish one of these other books before starting. And you guys, what you'll realize as I go through these books is that I've really just gotten myself over my head in books. Because here are the other ones, and I have not started any of them. So I don't know how much of it I'll get to, but I picked out all of my bookmarks for the week that I'm using. And I'm so excited about Diverseathon. So yeah, I haven't really, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of this I'm going to get to. I'm hoping a lot. Alex asks me every day. He's like, so how far have you gotten in Diverseathon? Because that's kind of an important readathon, don't you think? I'm like, my husband, who doesn't even like to read, is telling me that it's an important readathon. So yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about Underground Railroad by Colton Whitehead for a second. If you guys don't know, this is one of Oprah's picks for her Oprah's Book Club. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. If you guys have read this book, the first chapter is very, very confusing. It starts in Africa, I think. It doesn't really say, but with this girl coming to the United States, sold into slavery. This book has really fucked with my head a lot. I'm probably 25% into it right now. It is, first of all, it's absolutely beautifully written. There are pieces of it, colloquially, the way that they speak, that reminds me very much of, it takes place in Georgia. It reminds me very much of To Kill a Mockingbird, parts of it, which also took place in Georgia. But not intentionally. I don't think that was his intention. It is done so well. This is what I was thinking last night. So, you know, in school growing up, we have Black History Month, right? And I'm sitting there and I had this conversation with Alex last night and I said, you know, I think being white in the United States, like, we forget, like, it was not very long ago that slavery existed in the United States. Like, and like a lot of times when you'll hear these like racist like debates going on, you know, like you'll hear like somebody that's white say, you know, it's like slavery's over, get over it. And I'm sitting there and it's interesting what Colton Whitehead does in this book. So one of the things that he does is like, okay, and I'm going to make a stereotype, but it has been very true of some of the Latino and African American mothers that I have known, that they kind of rule with an iron fist and they're very strong-willed with their children. And I think it's an admirable quality. So if that's not a true stereotype, I apologize, but I'm gonna tell you why I found that interesting. In the book, one of the characters, Mabel, who is the mother of Cora, who's the main character, talks about how she raised her children tough, because if she was tough on them at home, she knew they could deal with anything that the plantation owners dealt out to them, because she was tougher on them than the plantation owners were. And I thought, you know, I wonder if that's a systematic thing that has started years ago within slavery, that still now we kind of see within the culture, you know, of tight-knit African-American families. I hope in no way whatsoever that comes across as any kind of like racist. If it does, it just was an interesting observation for me reading it. And I'm sitting here as I'm saying it thinking, Peter, just delete this video and redo it because they're going to take it the wrong way. But I'm not going to, because what's interesting to me reading this book is that I had Black History Month, you know, every February since I grew up. What did I learn? Nothing. Nothing. I mean, we read like quotes from Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and that was it. We learned about Rosa Parks, kind of. We didn't even really learn the true story. And I'm sitting here reading this book, and it's so painful to read, you know, just as a reader. I can't imagine having lived through it. And it's like the first book that I've read about slavery, you know, like Roots, I read. So, like, but this isn't even similar to that, you guys. It's so much better. It's so much more well done. And it's so beautifully written, but like, just in like the names and how they lose their names and they lose who they are. And like when your children are born on a plantation, you know how they're going to live and die because they're never going to leave the plantation. It is such a painful book to read that when you see that we're not that far out from slavery, honest to God, like in years, we're really not, you know, that how can we expect to ever get together? I don't know. It's just like, you know, it has really, really taught me to look at the world in a different way and to realize that I don't know somebody else's experience. I don't know their family history. You know, I mean, I talk a lot about family history of addiction because I have it and I have it years and years going back. Well, what if your family history went back into slavery and it still affected your mindset or your perspective of who you are today? I mean, that has to be a truism, correct? And so this Diverseathon has really taught me so far in looking at people's different perspectives and walking around on their front porch, you know, in their shoes and saying, I don't know where you're coming from at all. Please teach me. And it's been really interesting to me. And so far, I'm absolutely loving it. These books are just amazing to me and they're really opening my eyes. So I hope you're enjoying Diverseathon as well. I really, really encourage you to get Underground Railroad by Colton Whitehead. It is an amazing, amazing read. I think it's a great book to open discussions. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.